Okay, so let's get right into it. Today, we are digging into a pretty provocative theory, one that comes from our source material and suggests there's a whole lost century of technology. And the central idea here? That the entire, loud, angry debate we have about climate change might just be a massive distraction from a truth that's been buried for a very, very long time.
So according to the source, we're basically being cornered into two, frankly, terrible choices. On one side, you've got this vision of a future with Orwellian-level control. We're talking energy rationing, population control, the whole shebang. And on the other side, we just keep doing what we're doing. Business as usual, riding the current system right off a cliff into total environmental collapse. We're being told, hey, pick one. These are your only options.
And from one side of that debate, you hear this really desperate, urgent plea. The feeling is that our whole system, with its obsession with endless economic growth, is completely bankrupt, morally speaking. And worse, that it's actively killing our planet. It's a message that says we are out of time.
But then you listen to the other side, and it's like a totally different reality. This perspective, which the source brings up, questions the entire story. They point to data they say shows no warming at all for almost 2 decades. And they say, hey, remember when it was called global warming, and then poof, it just magically changed to climate change?
So, this is where our source material really pivots. It asks a pretty fascinating question. What if both sides have a point? What if the people screaming that we're destroying the planet are right, but the people who say we can't just flip a switch and turn off our entire energy system are also right? If both arguments are valid, but they lead us to a dead end, well, who's really being played here? The source suggests the answer is us.
And here's the absolute core of the claim. The term UFO, according to the source, it's not what we think. It's a smokescreen, a deliberate misdirection. The secret isn't about aliens from another planet, it's about technology. Specifically, that these things we see in the sky are actually advanced, man-made devices for alternative energy and propulsion.
So, if it's not aliens, what exactly is this technology that's supposedly been suppressed? Well, the source material focuses on 2 revolutionary concepts that it claims could literally change everything about life on Earth.
First up, there's something called zero-point energy. Now, stick with me here. The idea is that empty space isn't empty at all. It's this buzzing, roiling sea of quantum energy. The source claims that if we could just figure out how to tap into that field, we'd unlock a source of power that is totally clean, practically free, and absolutely limitless for every single person on the planet.
And the second piece of the puzzle is gravity control. Just imagine this. You create a kind of electromagnetic bubble around a vehicle that essentially makes gravity and inertia optional. According to the source, this one technology would instantly make every plane, train, car, and rocket we have completely obsolete.
And if you have that kind of technology, well, the source paints a picture of a world that looks like this. With energy that's basically free, everything gets cheaper. We could end poverty. We could end global hunger. We could recycle literally 100% of our waste. We could pull fresh water from the oceans to end droughts and bring deserts back to life. You're talking about a totally restored biosphere and a world where power isn't held by a few, but is decentralized for everyone.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty incredible, right? Which brings us to the multi-trillion-dollar question. If any of this is even remotely possible, why on earth are we still drilling for oil and burning coal? The source argues it's not because we haven't discovered these things, it's because they've been actively, systematically suppressed.
And this isn't some new thing. The source makes the bold claim that these world-changing technologies have been known and ruthlessly pushed into the shadows for over 100 years, a period of time it calls the lost century.
And the source lays out a timeline to back this up. It points to things like a farmer back in 1902 supposedly powering his whole farm with an earth battery. It points to the moment Nikola Tesla died in '43 and the FBI immediately swooped in and seized all of his research. It alleges that by 1954, gravity control was already mastered in secret projects. And get this, by 1971, over 5,000 patents, including some for solar panels way more efficient than what we have today, were just taken under national security orders, all while companies like Exxon allegedly knew exactly how dangerous fossil fuels were.
So, how could you possibly keep something this big under wraps? Well, the source claims it's a playbook with multiple strategies. You use national security laws to legally confiscate patents. Big corporations buy up revolutionary tech just to stick it on a shelf and never let it see the light of day. You fund bogus science to discredit real discoveries. And in the darkest corners, you resort to threats, intimidation, or even violence against the inventors themselves.
But why?
Why would anyone do this? The source points to one very simple, very powerful motive: money. I mean, just look at these numbers. We're not talking about billions. We are talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars in oil, coal, and gas still in the ground. The argument is that this is the real reason, to protect the entire global economic system no matter the cost.
And to give this a human face, the source highlights this quote from a man who used to be a climate consultant for Exxon. He's on the record saying the company was pushing views that their own scientists knew were false. He flat out calls it immoral, and says it's a huge reason we're so far behind on tackling climate change.
So, let's say you believe all this. Let's say a century of suppression is real. How in the world do you break a cycle like that? Well, the material we're looking at proposes a complete shift in strategy, something totally different.
First, it points out a pattern that has failed again and again. It calls it the crazy inventor syndrome. You know the type: a lone genius has a breakthrough, and their first instinct is to patent it, hoard it, and try to become the next billionaire. They treat it like Gollum with his precious ring. But according to the source, that secrecy is exactly what makes them a perfect target for suppression. And almost every single time, that incredible knowledge dies right along with them.
And that brings us to the new strategy, the proposed solution. The old way, secret patents, venture capital, that my precious attitude, it's failed for over a century. So the new way is the polar opposite: radical, total transparency, open source everything, live stream your research, put every blueprint, every piece of data up on the internet so that any lab anywhere in the world can replicate it. The idea is to spread the knowledge so far and so wide that it becomes impossible to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
In the end, the source material leaves us right here with this powerful image from the Hopi prophecy. It talks about a fork in the road. One path is the one we're on now, a path the prophecy says ends in destruction. But there's another path, one that goes on forever. And so the final, really provocative question isn't whether we can change our path, but whether we, all of us, will actually choose to.